We all like to think of ourselves as law-abiding citizens, right? We pay our taxes, stop at red lights, and avoid anything that might get us cuffed and thrown into the back of a squad car. But what if I told you that you might be breaking the law without even knowing it every single day? That's right, you could be a criminal right now, sitting in your own home just for something as innocent as sharing your Netflix password or collecting rainwater in your backyard. Some laws are so bizarre, outdated, or just plain unexpected that even the most well-meaning citizen could technically be a criminal without ever realizing it. Imagine getting a knock on your door and finding out that your favorite weekend hobby or a harmless habit you've had for years could actually land you in handcuffs. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. From laws that ban your favorite foods to rules that make something as simple as forgetting to return a library book a potential crime, the legal system is full of hidden traps just waiting to catch you off guard. Today, we're diving into some of the strangest, most surprising laws that could land you in legal hot water without you ever realizing it. So if you've ever used public Wi-Fi without buying a coffee first, fed a homeless person, or even sent a meme without permission, you might want to keep watching because you might be more of an outlaw than you think. So buckle up as we explore laws that technically make you a criminal. Let's start with something simple: sharing your Netflix password. A lot of people do it, sometimes with family, sometimes with friends, and occasionally with someone you haven't even spoken to in 5 years, but who somehow has access to your account. But did you know that technically this is illegal? Under the U.S. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, sharing passwords can be considered unauthorized access, which makes it a federal crime. In 2016, a federal court ruled that sharing passwords without permission violates this act, setting a precedent that could, in theory, make millions of people criminals for doing something as simple as letting a friend borrow their login to binge watch a show. While no one's being hauled off to jail for it yet, the potential is there. Or how about jaywalking? Most of us have done it at least once, maybe even today. It's practically a rite of passage in every busy city, darting across the street like you're in a real-life game of Frogger, just to save a few extra steps. But in some cities, jaywalking isn't just a minor offense, it's a misdemeanor that can lead to fines, community service, or even jail time for repeat offenders. Los Angeles, for instance, has notoriously strict jaywalking laws with tickets running up to $250. That's right, you could cross the street to grab a $5 latte and end up with a ticket worth 50 of them. The law dates back to the early 20th century when car manufacturers lobbied for pedestrian restrictions to make streets more car-friendly. So technically, crossing the street outside a crosswalk could make you a criminal even if the nearest crosswalk is blocks away. It's one of these rare cases where taking the shortcut might actually be the long way around, at least for your wallet. Then there's the issue of feeding the homeless. It sounds like a kind of generous thing to do, right? Just you, a few sandwiches, and the warm glow of doing something good for humanity. Well, in dozens of U.S. cities, it's actually illegal without a permit. That's right, spreading peanut butter on some bread and handing it out could technically make you a criminal. In 2014, a 90-year-old man in Florida was arrested for handing out meals to homeless people in the park. Apparently, in some places, sharing a meal without a permit is a bigger offense than, say, littering or public urination. City officials argued it was a public health issue, while critics claimed it was a way to push homelessness out of sight. The controversy sparked nationwide outrage, but the fact remains, in some places, giving someone a sandwich could land you in legal hot water. So next time you're feeling generous, make sure to pack a lawyer along with those lunches. Speaking of food, let's talk about raw milk. Yes, we've reached the part of the show where even milk is against the law. Buying or selling raw, unpasteurized milk is illegal in over 20 U.S. states due to concerns about bacteria and disease. But for some people, raw milk is part of a natural diet, leading to a thriving black market for what's basically just milk that hasn't been heat treated. Imagine a speakeasy for milk enthusiasts, password at the door, guys in trench coats whispering, "You want the 2% or the whole?" Under federal law, transporting raw milk across state lines for sale is a crime, which has led some pretty wild scenarios like undercover sting operations at farmers market. That's right, somewhere out there's a federal agent who has to tell people at parties that they spent their week busting dairy smugglers. You could be an outlaw just for drinking a glass of milk the way nature intended. Even your car's cup holder might be a crime scene. In some states, it's illegal to have an open container of alcohol in your vehicle, regardless of whether you're drinking it. That half-empty bottle of wine rolling around in your trunk after a picnic? In places like Texas and Tennessee, that's even a misdemeanor, even if you haven't had a sip. These laws are meant to prevent drunk driving, but can turn innocent situations into potential arrest. Imagine getting pulled over and having to explain to a cop that, no, you weren't drinking and driving. You just forgot to dump out the last glass of rosé from your picnic date 3 weeks ago. Suddenly, keeping a tidy car seems less like a chore and more like a survival tactic. The takeaway here, you might be breaking the law just by living your life. Sometimes it feels like you need a law degree just to get through the day without committing a misdemeanor. So, if you've ever jaywalked, fed someone in need, or enjoyed a cold glass of raw milk, congratulations. You might just be an accidental outlaw. Ever use public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop without buying anything? That too could technically be a crime. In 2007, a Michigan man was arrested and fined $400 for using a cafe's Wi-Fi from his car without permission. Police charged him under a law meant to prevent unauthorized computer access, even though the Wi-Fi wasn't password protected. It turns out that logging onto a public network without buying a latte first might make you a cyber criminal. And let's not forget about the library. Unreturned library books are a classic example of minor crimes that people don't even think twice about. But in some places, overdue books can escalate from a fine to a warrant for your arrest. In Texas, failing to return library books can lead to a misdemeanor charge. And there have been actual cases of people being arrested for books that were late by months or even years. A woman in Michigan was once handcuffed and booked for 2 overdue books worth less than $30. The charges were eventually dropped, but not before she spent a night in jail. Then there are really weird ones, like using a fake name on the internet. According to Facebook's real name policy and various state-level anti-fraud laws, creating a social media account under a pseudonym could technically be considered fraud. In 2011, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that using a fake name online could violate the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, a law originally meant to target hackers. So technically, if you've ever created a second Instagram account under a fake name to stalk your ex, congratulations, you might be a criminal. Or considering collecting rainwater. In some Western U.S. states, laws restricting or outright ban the collection of rainwater on your own property based on a legal doctrine that views rainfall as public property. A man in Oregon was sentenced to 30 days in jail for collecting rainwater on his land without a permit. While the laws are mostly about managing water resources, the idea that you could be locked up for putting out a rain barrel is enough to make you question how well you actually know the law. The truth is, the legal system is full of these hidden traps, laws that made sense decades or even centuries ago, but now seem ridiculous. Yet, they're still on the books. And if the right cop or judge takes an interest, you could end up paying fines, doing community service, or worse. It's a reminder that, technically speaking, we might all be criminals without even realizing it. So if you're looking to live a completely law-abiding life, good luck, you might need it. If you found this deep dive into strange and unexpected laws fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more explorations into the stranger side of the law. Thanks for watching Hammer's Law. I'm Darryl Isaacs, the Kentucky Hammer, and until next time, try to stay legal.